Welcome to ypww, Lesson 9. I do not own the rights to this music. The lesson text is coming out of Genesis chapter 12, verses 1 through 3, and then verses 8 through 9. And also Genesis 13, verses 1 through 4. The topic is Abraham builds an altar unto the Lord in Bethel, Part 2. Lesson aim. The aim of this lesson is to show how Abraham built an altar unto the Lord at Bethel, the place known as the house of God, to bless and worship the Lord. The memory verse says, "And he removed from thence unto a mountain on the east of Bethel, and pitched his tent, having Bethel on the west and Hai on the east. And there he builded an altar unto the Lord, and called upon the name of the Lord." And that's Genesis chapter 12, verse 8. Genesis 12, verses 1 through 3. Now the Lord had said unto Abram, "Get thee out of thy country, and from thy kindred, and from thy father's house, unto a land that I will show thee. And I will make of thee a great nation, and I will bless thee, and make thy name great, and thou shalt be a blessing. And I will bless them that bless thee, and curse him that curseth thee. And in thee shall all families of the earth be blessed." Genesis 12, verses 8 through 9. And he removed from thence unto a mountain on the east of Bethel, and pitched his tent, having Bethel on the west and Hai on the east. And there he builded an altar unto the Lord, and called upon the name of the Lord. And Abram journeyed, going on still toward the south. Genesis 13, verses 1 through 4. And Abram went up out of Egypt, he and his wife, and all that he had, and Lot with him, into the south. And Abram was very rich in cattle, in silver, and in gold. And he went on his journey from the south even to Bethel, unto the place where his tent had been at the beginning, between Bethel and Hai, unto the place of the altar which he had made there at the first. And there Abram called on the name of the Lord. The introduction says, in last week's lesson, we touched on how Bethel is known as the house of God, the place of worship where the presence of the Lord inhabits the praises of his people. It is the place where sacrifices and offerings are given unto him. The church is also recognized as the house of God, the place of worship. Abraham built such an altar unto God and worships. He is called by God, who tells him to leave his homeland and his pagan kindred. The Lord promises to bless him and make his name great. He comes to a mountain east of Bethel and pitches a tent, and there he builded an altar unto the Lord, and called upon the name of the Lord. God promises him great wealth and an even greater legacy. All families of the earth will be blessed because of Abraham's faithfulness. The discussion says, by simply believing God, Abraham is called to go forth from the place or land of familiarity to a new and unfamiliar location. Making his way through Canaan, he starts in Shechem, where he builds an altar unto God. Along his journey, he erects altars confirming God's promised land. God blesses him and gives him every place his foot treads, which includes Bethel, Ai, Hebron, Gera, Beersheba, and Egypt. However, this is all possible because Abraham believes God and moves at God's command. The application says Abraham's inheritance is connected to three specific points made by God. 1. Get out of the pagan land. 2. Get away from the pagan kindred of his father's house. And 3. Go where God sends him. By doing all three, the covenant of being blessed made a great nation, and his name is great, known throughout all history. God also keeps his promise, blessing Abraham and his descendants to inherit the promised land. The protection of God is with him and all the righteous families of the earth. After building the altar at Bethel and blessing the Lord, Abraham journeys forward. He will travel throughout the promised land, fulfilling the covenant. This is significant in that believers cannot get stuck in one spot. Stopping at the first place and never moving forward is not an option. God tells him where to go and how long to stay. Success is based upon complete obedience and trust. Calling upon the name of the Lord draws believers closer to God. It is both an honor and privilege to have inheritance among the sanctified as joint heirs with Christ. This is made possible through Abraham's faith and obedience. The lesson illustration. Genesis 12, verses 1 through 3. Now the Lord had said unto Abram, Get thee out of thy country, and from thy kindred, and from thy father's house, unto a land that I will show thee. And I will make of thee a great nation, and I will bless thee, and make thy name great. And thou shalt be a blessing. And I will bless them that bless thee, and curse him that curseth thee. And in thee shall all families of the earth be blessed. Genesis chapter 12, verses 8 through 9. And he removed from thence unto a mountain on the east of Bethel, and pitched his tent, having Bethel on the west, and Hai on the east. And there he builded an altar unto the Lord, and called upon the name of the Lord. And Abram journeyed, going on still toward the south. We see the text begins with God talking to Abram. Now the Lord had said, reflects that the conversation starter is the Lord. The covenant promise is made by him. However, the obedience that follows requires action on Abram's behalf. Our faith is also shown by our works, and God still bountifully blesses the faithful. The questions for today's lesson. Question 1. Abraham leaves Egypt very rich in what three kinds of wealth? Question 2. What is your view concerning those people who think that they obtain their wealth on their own and do not need to worship? Question 3. What is your response based upon what Abraham did? The end. God bless you, and thank you for joining me today.